on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Weekdays 11 to 1 with Ryan Mulvey.
I love it.
Covering the biggest stories, breaking news, the latest trades, and taking your calls. The Inside Drive is live and local middays from the Gulf Plus studios.
Happy anniversary.
Becky was on roids.
On ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Thursday's weather. The rest of the day, there will be a moderate breeze out of the southwest, very light showers and definite thunderstorms, and 83. Very light rain and a likelihood of thunderstorms tonight, about the same at 77. Tomorrow, likely thunderstorms and moderate rain and a high of 84. About the same at 83 Saturday, and we'll have possible thunderstorms. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Tired of boring merch and want your brand to stand out like the big names? Elevate your look with Red 7 Tees. They don't just print shirts, they create bold identities. They are a veteran-owned custom apparel shop providing the kind of detail that turns heads, using high-quality digital printing and embroidery to give you that unique style you love with no minimums or cookie-cutter designs. From small business to sports teams, if you've got a vision, they'll help you wear it proudly. Visit red7tees.com.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards in Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at InstantReplaySportsCards.com.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now, to learn more.
800-605-4650. 800-605-4650. 800-605-4650. That's 800-605-4650.
Field Port St. Joe. Powered by Panama City Toyota. ESPN Northwest Florida. Broadcasting from the CBC Construction Studios.
Are you ready? Okay, let's begin.
Drip. The Afternoon Underdog Trip. Live and local. Inside the Talk House.
Unleash the dragon.
On the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Keep making noise. Keep making noise. Yeah.
What is going on, Panama City Beach, Florida? You are now in the doghouse riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes along with James Fife, and we are the only dogs in the doghouse this afternoon. We are live and local from the CBC Construction Studios. You can call them at 850-747-3815 or visit their website at cbcconstruction.com. We're streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. You can like and share that Facebook feed. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then go over to your Apple Store or your Google Store. Type it in 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida to download the app. James, how are you doing this afternoon, bud?
Having a great Thursday, man. Enjoying the day.
It is a beautiful afternoon out there. I don't know, the rain calmed down a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't raining. It drizzled on me when I was coming in, but I was, way out in the sticks. By the time I got here, not raining at all.
There you go. I know we had a nice little dose of it during the inside drive. You could hear it beating on the tin roof, and man, That was the perfect time for a nap, but someone had to make sure they were getting in and out of the breaks this afternoon. But yeah, but hopefully the weather doesn't interfere too much with the Gulf Coast Jam. If you're attending that this afternoon, I hope you'll have a good time, and know that they had to cut out a couple of the acts, but nothing too big. That's got to be a hard ordeal, right? Is you have this thing planned, get everyone excited about it, and then the day of the first day of the concert, you start running into the weather complications. But hey, it's Florida. If you're putting anything together, you always have to be ready for things to go sideways. Got the Women's College World Series on the TV in here in the studio. And Tennessee has a 3-1 lead on Oklahoma. We'll be talking Women's College World Series with Sydney Fields this afternoon coming up at 5 o'clock. And that'll be a lot of fun. Lots of we've only had one game in the College World Series to this point. You had Texas taking care of business against Florida today, 3-0, which puts Florida into the losers bracket, and they will take on the winner of this game. Oddly enough, Coach Brian Haddad on the Inside Drive today brought up a good point. Why don't they reseed when getting to this portion of the bracket, the Women's College World Series? Because in this side, you've got 2, 3, 6, and 7, the seeds, overall seeds for the tournament. And in the other side of the bracket, you've got Texas Tech, who's 12, Oregon 16, Ole Miss unseeded, and I believe they have the 9 seed. The 9 seed over there in UCLA. So it's like you get the top teams in one bracket, and then all of the lower seeds or higher seeds, depending on how you phrase that, on the other side of the bracket. So not a huge fan of that, but I've never looked at it like that before. So we'll find out how Sydney Fields feels about that and what her thoughts are on the rest of the teams in the Women's College World Series. We'll also have Alan Watson joining us next to talk all things golf and what product he's loving over there at Golf Plus. We'll only be going until 5:43 this afternoon, as the Atlanta Braves are going to be playing the second half of their doubleheader against the Philadelphia Phillies. Is going to be Chris Sale going up against Zach Wheeler, I believe. And the Braves have already lost game 1 of the doubleheader, 5-4. And just like the other night, Tuesday night, when they took on the Phillies, that was a 2-0 ball game. This game, they were trailing 4-2 late in the game. In the 8th inning, Sean Murphy and I forget who else tied the game up at 4 apiece. And then in the bottom of the 8th inning, walking in a run, and the Philadelphia Phillies take a 5-4 win. So not good news for the Atlanta Braves. I guess the best piece of news from the Braves right now is the fact that they got Ronald Acuna Jr. back. A.J. Smith-Shawver looked like he got popped with the ball. Looks like he's going to maybe spend some time on the injured list. I haven't found out the extent of that injury to this point. But the Phillies taking on the Atlanta Braves tonight here on ESPN Northwest Florida. First pitch at 5:45. Braves baseball on ESPN Northwest Florida is sponsored locally by Bill Bird Kia, PCB Hobby, Panama City Toyota, Hewitt Tire and Auto, and by Hometown Towing. Our call-in question of the day, which of course you can text in as well. You just go to the Red 7T's phone line. Give us a call or text 850-215-6290. The Red 7T's phone line. They are the brand that brands you. If you could lock in one sports moment to relive live from the stands, what would it be? If you could lock in one sports moment to relive live from the stands, what would it be? Well, normally on Thursdays, occasionally on Thursdays, not as much lately, we have Leanne Schwartzentruber in the building with us, the coach's daughter. And she was at the Music City Miracle. That was the first, when I thought of this question, that was the first example or the first game that I was like, oh, I'd love to be there. Well, Leanne was there, so I figured when I was putting this together, that's the one that, we would have went down that road. And then secondarily, it would probably be, I've never been to an NHL playoff game. Matter of fact, I have not been to a playoff game of any sort, so there's that. But I would go to, I feel like it would be great to go to a playoff hockey game. right? To that atmosphere. So I'd go to the 2021 Stanley Cup Finals that was Tampa Bay Lightning and the Dallas Stars, and I believe we clinched that. Was that in Game 6?
That was a sixer.
Yeah. Game 6, I believe Vasi had a shutout in Game 5 of that Stanley Cup Final. And it's odd because when you go back to the first stint there, it was the Tampa Bay Lightning played the Montreal Canadiens due to the coronavirus in that instance, and that is just something that would not happen in normal years. But anyways, yeah, I'd go back to 2021 to Game 6 of the Tampa Bay Lightning Dallas Stars Stanley Cup Final. What about for you, James?
I was at the Music City Miracle. I'd go back to that. Right back to it.
You'd go back to it.
I was on the second level at that 25-yard line, right where Frank Wycheck threw the ball. I was right there. I could look straight down the line and see it. It was the most amazing.
All right. Well, then I got to ask you, because I've seen the video a multitude of times, was not watching it live. I don't believe. Was he past the line? Was Frank Wycheck past the line?
Well, it doesn't have to do with him being past the line because it was a kickoff. The question did the ball travel forward?
Okay, was it a forward pass?
And the thing is the ball left his hand at the 25-yard line. It probably traveled forward a few inches, but it didn't go beyond the next yard marker.
Okay.
So according to that, it was still on the 25-yard line when it was released, and it was still on the 25-yard line when it was caught.
All right. I didn't know you were getting ready to go into politics and give us these coach speak type answers. From your perspective, when you were watching it, was there any feeling in you? Were you just excited that it had just happened, or was there anything inside of you? Oh, they might look at this. And that was really before challenges were
it was
as big of a deal as what they are now.
It was just straight excitement, even while the play was going on, because nobody really knew what was going on. And when they saw that ball get thrown, everybody just went nuts.
Yeah.
You weren't even really paying attention to where the ball was on the line because nobody cared at that point.
Yeah.
You were just watching this. Oh man, this is gonna work. This is gonna work, and just go nuts. Now, once I started watching the replays on the Jumbotron in the stadium, I was like, yeah, maybe, but they gotta let that stand because it was just too pretty.
There you go. Pretty plays got to stand regardless of the rule. So let's go over to Facebook real quick, and we'll check some of those answers out. And again, you can text yours in or call it in 850-215-6290 as we look at, and the call-in question of the day, if you could lock in one sports moment to relive live from the stands, what would it be? And then, James, think of one of a situation that you were not at that you would love to be able to go back and experience in a live fashion.
Can it be before I was around?
Yeah.
1980 Lake Placid.
Oh, yeah.
That's easy for me.
What a moment.
1980 Lake Placid. I don't even want to be at the gold medal game.
Yeah.
I want to be at that semifinal game where we beat those Russians.
How often is that the case, that the game to get you into the championship game is memorized more, or is more memorable than what the actual championship game is? Because I would say if you ask people who aren't strict hockey fans, or if you, it was such a monumental thing in the United States, regardless if you were a hockey fan or not, that most people remember that more than the fact that, like, right now, I'm still thinking, was it Sweden or Finland? It was Finland. Now that I say it out loud, right? But even having to think of that, I wasn't alive, so obviously it carries a little bit more weight, I would say, for the people who were able to witness it. But your thoughts on that, the fact of teams winning in the semifinal and that being more popular than winning in the final?
That's really the only game I can think of, really, because there's a whole lot of other games that have been played in championship games we always remember. But for that in hockey, or any sport, really, I can't think of anything where a playoff game before the final game just totally overshadowed everything, in the stands, basically in the world at that point, because nobody was expecting the U.S. to beat Russia, in that game. So I'm thinking right now, I'm going in the Wayback Machine, and I've watched a lot of sports, and I'm trying to think of any games where I'm like, oh man, that was way more important than the final. But I've
got a couple that I just thought of, and the reason why Ohio Brad just kind of brought this up to the surface for me. He texted in, he said that that Ohio State won over Oregon in 2014, the inaugural 4-team college football playoff. Who did they beat in order to get to the championship game against Oregon? Alabama. So I chuckled when I was laughing when you were talking. That was me reading that, like, of course you would go that direction. So then you start thinking about just the time of the college football playoff, and one stands out even more so than that. Georgia beats Michigan. Or no, TCU beat Michigan. I can't even remember who Georgia beat that year to get into the championship.
And then Georgia, I think that was like a double year. I think that was LSU. I think that was the year that 2 SEC teams made it, I want to say.
I don't believe so. I'm not going to say no. I don't believe so. I don't think it was Oklahoma either. I mean, what is this? This is just, 2022 national championship, I believe, right? Because 2023 Michigan, 2024 Ohio State. So that should be Georgia in 2022. And they trounced TCU. So I would say some of the semifinals in the college football playoffs were actually somewhat more important or more memorable. I think that's what it is. Popular or memorable rather than being more important, because obviously if you were to talk to the players for the 1980 Lake Placid Team USA versus the USSR, but we're talking about the Team USA players, if you were to ask them, even I believe that they would say, in asking in terms of importance, which game was more important, the game against Russia or the gold medal game against Finland, I think they would still answer the game against Russia was more important.
Yeah, Craig Rogers, the goalie for the USA team for that team, always stated that the Russia game was the biggest game. Because even if you watch the guys on the ice celebrate afterwards, they almost seem more excited at that game than after the gold medal game, which is kind of weird. I mean, you even see Jim Craig down there going, hey, where's my dad? I want to bring my dad down here to celebrate with me after this win, because it was just a huge win. I mean, you got to realize, I think like out of the 22 guys they had on that roster, maybe 3 or 4 even played in the NHL.
Yeah,
it wasn't a heavy team.
I thought that was before you could even have pros.
No, that's the thing is it was all like college kids.
Pros. Gotcha.
Like almost all the guys on that team were either junior players or college kids, and that's why it was such a big deal to beat the Red Army, which was basically a professional team. I mean, those guys were paid to play hockey by the state, so they weren't quote unquote professionals because they were working for the state.
And going back to, and thanks for that information, going back to that 2021 college football playoff, Chef Ross had texted it was Ohio State that Georgia beat. And I'm like, how could I even forget that? Because Ohio State could have very well possibly been playing TCU in that national championship had their kicker just kicked normally. Not that he didn't kick normally, but I mean, that was one of the worst kicks that I'd seen in my entire life, which just goes to show how big the nerves are. But that game was absolutely more memorable than what the championship game against TCU, outside of what made that game against TCU memorable. The fact that it was a blowout and you could turn your TV off at, halftime of that game.
Yeah, the third quarter, you knew it. It was like way over by the third. It was not it was even further apart than the Falcons Patriots type thing, because it was a game that you did not expect it. People thought TCU was just going to go in there and just get wiped, and everybody's going to be like, "See, we don't need 4 teams, we only need 2," and well, they proved a lot of people wrong that day.
Exactly, and that is why we're up to 12. And the next conversation is will we go to 14 or 16? I believe that'll be starting next year, which, by the way, while we're on college football here, there is a new rule for college football. It's pertaining to the Hall of Fame. The winning percentage for coaches drops from 60% to 59.5%. That is huge for mainly Mike Leach, but also some new coaches or some coaches who are within those parameters. Les Miles, he's got a 597 win percentage after 37 wins were vacated with the Tigers when he was with LSU. And then Jackie Sherrill, whose record was at 595, or his winning percentage rather at 595. He had 26 seasons coaching over there at Pitt, Texas A&M, and Mississippi State. But the obvious, of course, is Mike Leach. So it would be cool to see Mike Leach get into the Hall of Fame. He deserves it. You know, when I think there's all the time of people, you know, the Hall of Fame or the Hall of Very Good or, you know, Hall of Average, because they say that so many people get into the Hall of Fame for, you know, and they weren't good enough to be a Hall of Famer. But I look at the name when I think of Hall of Fame. It doesn't say Hall of Statistics or anything like that. You garnered fame in your sport, right? That to me, you do have to have some sort of statistical backing to get you there. But I just think a 60% win percentage for a college football coach, when you're Mike Leach and you're not coaching at the Alabamas and the Ohio States, that's sometimes a hard number to reach when you've done it for a long time. And then let's not forget, he coached at Mississippi State and got him daggum 9 wins over there. So pretty impressive stuff there. How do you feel about the new rule change?
Mike, it's a fine rule change. I get why they're doing it. And they need to have some of these things not written in stone. Because, I mean, if you look at it, Mike Leach died while he was still a head coach.
Yeah.
You know, that should be taken into account when looking at putting somebody into the Hall of Fame. And as soon as, like, I heard that Mike Leach passes, like, you just put him in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Just do it. The guy deserves it. He was an excellent coach. He was an excellent human being. He cared about the kids. I mean, he was truly a coach. He was there because he loved it. He was there because he loved the kids. He enjoyed the process, win or lose. He always had a good attitude about his team and his kids. That needs to be much more prevalent among sports, period, especially at the college level.
Period. You heard it here first from James. All right, what we're going to do, we're going to let a few more responses accumulate. So the call-in question of the day, if you could lock in one sports moment to relive live from the stands, what game would it be? Text that answer in to us on the Red 7T's phone line, 850-215-6290. The Volunteers right now in the World of College Softball World Series has a 3-1 lead on Oklahoma in the top of the 7th, and they've got the bases juiced with just 1 down. Oklahoma, by the way, if you haven't been following along, looking to go 5 in a row with a College World Series, Women's College World Series. I mean, absolutely impressive, Patty Gasso, and what the Sooners are doing. But hopefully, being a fan of the Underdogs, they leave sooner than later. We're getting ready to talk some golf with Alan Watson, but first and foremost, Will, my brother, and his wife, my sister-in-law, Mercy, they had their baby. Her name is Ruth, and I'm going to meet her after the show. Cannot wait to meet baby Ruth. Congratulations to Will and Mercy. I know that process was not easy, but it will be worth it. This is the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be right back.
Atlanta Braves are back.
Here comes the throw. It's late. Braves win.
And ESPN Northwest Florida is your exclusive radio home for Braves country.
He just wrecked that thing. Straightaway center, a homer for Riley.
Sales, Strider, Acuna, Ozzie, Riley, Profar, and Coach Snitker lead a stellar lineup. Listen live nights and weekends on ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Thursday's weather. The rest of the day, there will be a moderate breeze out of the southwest, very light showers and definite thunderstorms, and 83. Very light rain and a likelihood of thunderstorms tonight, about the same at 77. Tomorrow, likely thunderstorms and moderate rain and a high of 84. About the same at 83 Saturday, and we'll have possible thunderstorms. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Golf is a game that should be fun, but to have the most fun, you need to play your best. That's where the experts at Golf Plus come in. Their friendly staff will guide you through the buying process, answer all your questions, and can help with any repairs you need along the way. Golf Plus is your custom fitting, club repair, and golf retail shop. Golf Plus staff is non-commissioned and will work with you to find the best product for your game, just like they've been doing since 1988. Golf Plus in Dothan and Panama City Beach. Fitting, repair, retail. That's Golf Plus.
TK Vandy Roofing and General Contracting is a fifth-generation contracting company based right here out of Bay County. TK Vandy's expertise in commercial and residential roofing, as well as a design, build general contractor, set them aside as a versatile and fresh alternative to achieve your construction needs. Contact TK Vandy Roofing, 850-866-9908, or email support@tkvandy.com. They can't wait to help you.
Broadcasting from the CBC Construction Studios. For everything in the world of golf, it's the Watson Report. Thursdays at 4:20 with Alan Watson from Golf Plus. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Doghouse, built up by CBC Construction. You can go to their website, cbcconstruction.com, or give them a call at 850-747-3815. Our call-in question of the day, or text in. That's normally the preferred method for most people. It's a lot easier than calling in, but if we got a whole bunch of people to call in and tell us about their stories live, we could do the show without show prep every single day. But the call-in question of the day, if you could lock in one sports moment to relive live from the stands, what would it be? Text in to the Red 7T's phone line, 850-215-6290. Now we're over to the Red 7T's phone line with the owner of Golf Plus, Alan Watson. Alan, my friend, how are you doing on this Thursday afternoon?
Yeah, I'm doing good because it's been raining most of the day, and you know what we call rain? It's retail sunshine, so it's been quite busy.
I like that. I don't know if I've heard it said like that, retail sunshine. I know that when I worked in the restaurant industry, you know, anytime the rain would come, it would, the restaurant would pack out. But then also one of our engineers over here, Steve, anytime he'd be over here working on something or over at the old studio working on something and the thunder would bang, he said, oh, it's God's cash register. And I was like, okay, so that's good. So we got retail sunshine and God's cash register.
Yeah, I'm not going to take it that far. We're not going to bring a deity into this, but okay. I just know people can't go to the beach when it's raining, or if they can just get real wet. And so we've just been rocking and rolling lately.
Yeah, when I worked in a dive shop, when it rained, it actually killed business. I guess because you're not great to dive when it's raining, but yeah, business would slow there.
Yeah, well, we've been doing good, so we're happy.
All right, well, I've got some questions for you, but I thought it would be fun, and I meant to send these over to you, so if you don't feel like doing it, we can do it next week. It'll give you time to think about it. But it would be comparing golfers to SEC football teams. So who would be a golfer on the PGA Tour or the LIV Tour? And look, you don't even got to stay with current golfers. You can go all time, if you will. But I've got a few lists here of some SEC teams. We'll just keep it SEC. And we'll start off with your favorite team, my favorite team, the Alabama Crimson Tide.
That's we'll go Scotty Scheffler. We won't go all the way to the top yet, but we'll just go like dominant for at least a long period of time. Dominant, current, somewhat current at this point. Obviously, not as current with Alabama. But whatever. We'll go Scotty Scheffler.
All right. Then how about them Georgia Bulldogs?
Rory McIlroy. Scrappy, wins a lot. Definitely current. Yeah, Rory.
All right. We'll go to Tennessee. How about them Volunteers?
Ooh, up and down. We're going to go Max Homa.
Ooh.
Potential, lots of potential, just not living up to it a lot of the time.
All right. How about the Auburn Tigers?
Ooh, that's going to be Justin Thomas. great a few years ago, hasn't done much since, although that was that recent win. But if we vacate that win, that's a Justin Thomas.
Oh, my goodness, man. How about that? Taking the tied golfer and turning them over to the Auburn Tigers. All right, the Florida Gators.
Oh, my gosh. Somewhat consistent, but not doing a whole lot. Everybody still wants to root for him. We'll give it Joel Damon.
Oh, nice. A lot of people probably would not know about him if it wasn't for Full Swing, the documentary there, which played a pretty big role in the first one, right? In the first season of Full Swing?
Yeah, first one.
All right, I did this one in honor of Leanne. She's a big Mississippi State Bulldog fan. So how about Mississippi State?
That is... Graham McDowell was big years ago, or big-ish, but never quite as big as they should have been, but big-ish, and then we haven't heard anything from them in forever.
I like that. That's a great description. I got two more for you, Ole Miss and the Rebels.
Oh, man. That's so tough. Let's think of who's not relevant anymore.
How about like a Tony Finau who is like flashy, but they fall apart in the big moments?
Yeah, that's a great one. Finau's a great one, and there's probably a couple other guys like that where it's like, I mean, if you think back to like Spieth and his collapse at the Masters a few years ago, although he's also won the Masters, so that's a tough one. But yeah, there you go.
And then the final one is over there in Death Valley, the LSU Tigers.
Oh, my gosh. That's like Boo Weekley. He's just a mess. He's just, but he's got all this potential, but he just won't show it unless he just feels like it every now and then. But he's as country as he can be. So, yeah, it's Boo Weekley for sure.
I like it, man. You got Alabama as Scotty Scheffler, Georgia as Rory, LSU as Boo Weekley, Auburn as Justin Thomas, Florida as Joel Damon, Mississippi State as Graham McDowell, Ole Miss as Tony Finau, and Tennessee as Max Homa. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We've got the owner of Golf Plus on the line with us. That is Alan Watson. Alan, what's more important now, winning majors or being a content machine on YouTube?
Well, if you're talking about the PGA Tour legacy or the golf legacy, winning majors is more important. But if you're just talking about finding a way to make money or finding a way to be relevant in today's world, then content creation certainly is the way to go. But I think in terms of longevity, most golfers would still rather have a major than a million followers.
All right, I'll ask you a few would-you-rathers then. Would you rather win the FedEx Cup or a single major?
Wow. Well, from the dollars and cents of it, you'd rather win the FedEx Cup. But, again, for longevity, to be able to say you did it, I'd rather win a major. So that's a toss-up. That's a 50-50.
Isn't that, to some extent, wild? And maybe it's not to you, but I think about this every year as we get closer to the FedEx Cup, which isn't quite upon us yet. But you have these four major tournaments, and, everyone, the casuals to never pay attention to golf, to, the diehard golf fans, all tune in for the majors. But when it comes down to the playoff portion of it, it seems like the viewership drops off quite a bit.
Yeah, I think because golf playoffs are a little bit like NASCAR's playoff series. Unless you're a really big fan, you just kind of don't care. You just sort of want to wait for the end and find out who wins. You have to be a diehard fan to watch every race in NASCAR and to watch every tournament in golf. You have to be a real diehard fan. Most fans are more casual than that. They're going to watch the occasional major. They're going to watch the occasional special tournament like the Players. I mean, everybody makes such a huge deal out of the Players Championship, and it has no real bearing in the end. I mean, it's no different than winning this week's tournament at the Memorial or whatever. So it's kind of interesting like that. But yeah, I mean, the FedEx Cup is coming, but it's going to be a two-horse race probably between Scheffler and Rory in the fall. The way things are going, at least.
Yeah. My next would you rather? Would you rather have Bryson DeChambeau's power or Jordan Spieth's short game?
Oh, I'd rather have Jordan's short game. I mean, I talk about him all the time with people. I mean, his wedge play is second to none. And of the young guns that are all out on tour, he is the best wedge player out there by far. In fact, he may be the best wedge player, since Mickelson, right? So, I mean, he's just, that short game is going to win you a lot more money in the long run over just pure distance.
Oh, my goodness. I'm sorry, Alan. We just had I've got the Women's College World Series on here in the studio. In Oklahoma, just hit a 3-run walk-off home run in the bottom of the 7th with 2 outs. So Oklahoma will move on to play Texas, and it'll be Florida and Tennessee in the elimination game tomorrow evening, as we have gotten started in the Women's College World Series with some fireworks. This one especially, earlier the game was 3-0 and was a little bit more dull. But we'll be talking with Sydney Fields later on. Right now we're on the line with Alan Watson, owner of Golf Plus. Would you rather, Alan, be in the final group on Sunday, every single major, but never win, or win one of those majors and miss every other cut?
Oh, gosh. Man, these are brutal. These are brutal. I mean, again, for your longevity's reputation, you need to win. So coming in second 4 times in a year is just embarrassing. I mean, although Jack Nicklaus had a lot of second places, and so did Tiger, but yeah, give me that win. I just want that one trophy. Thank you very much.
There you go. Man, it is a tough one, and in the PGA Tour, anyways, you got to make the cuts to make the money. And we've been talking about, even going back to winning majors or being a machine on YouTube. It seems to kind of go back to the money. So I think I would be with you there, and or never. I wouldn't be the opposite, I guess, because I'd rather make the cut and make some money rather than miss the cut and make no money. But if I'm on the Live Tour, I can only play at the majors anyways.
Exactly, and you're getting a big fat paycheck just to be around. So you got your money already.
All right, here's my final would you rather, and then we'll talk about some other things. Would you rather play a round with Charles Barkley, and y'all would be on the match together, or compete in a Pro-Am with Tony Romo?
I would say Charles. I've actually met him a couple of times, and he's a really great guy to hang out with. I think playing golf with him would be hilarious. And I'm not as big a Romo fan anyway, so yeah, I mean, maybe there's some other football player that might, take precedent, but if you give me those 2 choices, I'm going to take Charles Barkley for sure.
There you go. All right, let's see. Swing tip. How can we make better contact when we have uneven lies?
Well, it depends on the lie. If we're talking about, uphill, downhill, side hill, there's a lot of different kind of lies. But typically, when we think about side hill, for instance, where maybe I'm either above the ball or the ball slightly above me, now we're talking about spine angle. So, for instance, if the ball is above my feet, I'm going to grip close, down further on the grip because I don't need the full length of the shaft because now the ball is physically closer to me. And I'm also going to change my spine angle a little bit to sort of match the curvature of the ground so that I can keep that shaft moving in the same plane that it would normally be. If I'm imagining myself on flat ground and then all of a sudden that ball drops half a foot or rises half a foot, I just have to sort of bend to match that. So that's really what you're thinking about. And then on, downhill lies or uphill, that's where it gets a little bit trickier just because, especially on downhill, the tendency is to raise up and hit it thin. On uphill, the tendency is to slam the club into the ground. So again, matching the correct length, getting your spine angle, but also front to back, left to right, kind of lean, especially if it's downhill, you're going to be leaning more forward and so on. So it's a tough one, but I always tell people just kind of get a feel for it, and obviously you're going to want to take a couple little practice swings and kind of see where that club's bottoming out so that you can then put the ball in the correct part of your stance. And I did a couple of videos on social media today about ball position and how important that is, but that's an even better, I'll need to go outside and find some of those funky lies to shoot some content on to show people what that looks like, because that is very important, because let's face it, not every shot on the golf course is perfectly flat as if you're on some sort of mat or something.
Yeah, and I feel like I always get it backwards. When if I need to be aiming more left or aiming more right, I feel like I always get that backwards. And you know what I'll say too, Alan, is sometimes playing it's not called Golf Club, PGA 2K, I think it's 23, and even the Tiger Woods games, when you put them on the harder settings, it's not like it would help your actual golf game, but mentally you can see what happens when you hit the ball certain ways. So that kind of helped me at least be aware of how things play out.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, if you have a ball above your feet, the ball's typically going to move left if you're a right-handed golfer. So in that case, you'd be aiming a little bit further right and vice versa. So that's the other thing too, is your aim situation. Yeah, wherever if the ball's above your feet, you need to aim more right. If the ball's below your feet, you need to aim more left. But again, that also incorporates, your shot shape, and there's so many factors to that. It's not just that, but man, yeah, uneven lies can really wreak havoc on the golf course for sure.
And then for the people who do have time to get out there to the range, what's the difference in your mental thought process, or should you think differently at all on the course versus on the range?
Well, I mean, there's two different kinds of folks on the range. There's some people that are literally just hitting to loosen up and get ready for their round, and they're not really thinking about anything other than just maybe getting some good practice or getting some good swings in and getting the body warmed up and loose. And then there's other people that are there that are literally practicing. So they're shooting yardages and trying to hit certain numbers. They're working on certain swings or certain types of shots that maybe they struggled with their last time out. So I think it just really depends on what your goal is. If I've only got 5 minutes before the round, I'm just trying to loosen up. But if I've got an hour before the round, then I might actually be hitting real shots and thinking about shots that might come up on the course that day, and working through some progressions like that. So I think it's just all about what your goals are that day.
All right. Let's see. I'm stuck between two here, but I want to go with what's a smarter way to play? I hate asking this question because for me it's just, I don't hate asking the question. It's just I know myself when I get onto a golf course, par 5, par 4, doesn't matter. I'm going with the driver. And not that I can even hit my driver a lot further than I could any of my other clubs because I don't have my distances all managed out and all that good stuff as I should. But what's a smarter way to play par 5s instead of always trying to hit it as far as you possibly can?
Sure. So the smartest way is to play the hole backwards in your mind. So you're going to take the yardage and you're going to subtract whatever shot you want into the green first in your mind. And that might be based on where bunkers are placed, where water might be, if you know you've got a forced water carry going into the green or something. So if I know, like, for instance, I want to, let's just say, we'll use easy math. Let's say I want 100 yards into the green. And let's say the hole's 550 yards. So that means that I've got 450 yards to cover on those other two shots. So if I break the 450 down into, let's say, 2 3-woods, or 5-wood and 5-iron, or something like that, or 3-wood and 5-iron, that might be a smarter way to play it, and I can keep the ball in play versus bombing driver, which might go further but also might get me in trouble. So the smartest way is to play the hole backwards in your mind. If the hole's super wide open, then maybe driver's on the table. If the hole has a really narrow, pinched-off fairway at a certain point and driver's going to get you in trouble, or maybe there's water or bunkers that are in play, then that's kind of smarter to do that. A lot of holes. And the other thing to think about too, and this is good for par 4s or par 5, is what shot shape do you normally hit? Do you hit it right to left or left to right? And then how does the hole shape? Because if the hole shapes to the right and your typical driver shot goes left, then you're probably going to put yourself in trouble right off the tee. So why bother? Find a club that's going to keep you in play and stay alive and keep going that way. I think so many people think like, well, I know the hole goes right, but I tend to go left, but maybe this one time I'll miraculously follow the course. I doubt it. So, quit trying to do something you can't do and just dance with the one that brung you.
There you go. That is a perfect answer per usual. Boston Simpson and a couple. He says, what's the most important skill for a new golfer to work on?
Short game, so chipping and putting, learning how to get out of sand so you're not taking 7 shots to get out of sand, learning how to chip around the greens, understanding low shots, high shots, medium shots, trying to figure out how to use a wedge. The short game, and then the putting especially. Like I talked to a guy today, and he said, 10 feet and in, I love my putter, I'm great. Anything outside of 10 feet, I have no confidence. Well, what does that guy need to go work on? He needs to go work on his putting, right? And he needs to go work on his long-distance putting and get a feel for those long lag putts. So everybody wants to hit the driver. It's the beauty queen of the whole bag, and everybody loves it. They want to go to the driving range and hit 75 drivers in a row. That's a complete waste of time. Just go grab your sand wedge and your putter and spend an hour doing that, and your game will improve by 2 or 3 strokes.
And there you go. And then the final one from Boston Tim. What is the best tip or tips for improving putting at the house versus at a golf course?
Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit tougher just because unless you have a putt carpet or something, a putting carpet, which you can purchase, in stores or online, whatever. There are some good putting carpets that you could use to practice and work on your stroke. If you don't have access to that, but you have a floor that somewhat will roll, accurately and true, you could get some alignment sticks. They're like $5 each at our shop and at most shops. They're super cheap. You can get some alignment sticks, line those up just past the width of your putter so that you could see your path as you practice, and you could put a glass on the floor 10 feet away and putt towards the glass. That would be about all you could do, but it is tough to practice putting indoors. It really is, just because it's hard to simulate grass indoors. That's the hardest part of it. But yeah, I mean, you can still work on your stroke as long as you have some alignment sticks to kind of keep an eye on where you're at. You can also use a putting mirror. There are putting mirrors that kind of help. You can see when the putter moves wrong and get your eye over the ball. So that's another thing you could do, putting mirror.
Hey, there you go. Or you could just get out there in your backyard and chip through the long grass, or not chip through, putt through the long grass a little bit, and it'll kind of be comparable to some of the greens over there in Lynn Haven. But that is neither here nor there. Alan, my favorite question of the week, each and every week. What is the product that we're loving over there at Golf Plus?
That's a good one. This is a tough time of the year because we're not getting like a lot of fresh product, but we do have these new rangefinders in from Bushnell, a couple of new ones, the Tour Hybrid model and the A1 Slope. So we've got 2 great models, and it's just in time for Father's Day. If your dad or brother or whoever you're buying for Father's Day doesn't have a great rangefinder, or maybe he's got one, but it's 5 years old, you want to upgrade his technology, definitely the Bushnell rangefinders. This is the kind of time of year where we sell a lot of that stuff, and I think that's a great thing. We've also got some clothing on sale right now too. I mentioned on Ryan's show this morning. So if you're looking for a deal on men's clothing, we got a lot of it on sale, and now's a good time to grab that before it's gone.
There you go, and y'all can go visit Golf Plus right here in your backyard in the shops at Edgewater, right next door to Firefly, or up there in Dothan, the mothership off of Montgomery Highway. Hey, Alan, thanks so much for your time, and we will chat with you next week.
All right, guys. Y'all have a great week. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alan Watson, owner of Golf Plus, and it is time for us to take a break. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, tuned into ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be right back after this short break.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida has the most college and local sports anywhere on the Panhandle. Join the Coach Hale Show, mornings from 7 to 9, live from the J. Michaels Studio.
Best seafood, the Coles beer.
High school coverage, the SEC and beyond. It's all right here. Mornings on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Of course, it helps when you're a multi-millionaire.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Thursday's weather. The rest of the day, there will be a moderate breeze out of the southwest, very light showers and definite thunderstorms, and 83. Very light rain and a likelihood of thunderstorms tonight, about the same at 77. Tomorrow, likely thunderstorms and moderate rain and a high of 84. About the same at 83 Saturday, and we'll have possible thunderstorms. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Are you looking for a place to take a leak? Do you have a truck, tractor, or other hydraulic equipment leaking or not performing as it should? At Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, we can get you back to work. Do you have a busted or leaking hose? Hydraulic cylinder or pump needing repair? If competitive pricing and a quick turnaround are what matter to your business, come see us at Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, or you can give us a call at 850-326-3000. Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, 6840 Highway 77 in Southport, the best place in town to take a leak.
This is Patrick with Turf Pro Lawn and Pest Control. Mole cricket season is here. Before these insects can do damage or even destroy your lawn, call Turf Pro Lawn and Pest Control. We will come out to your property to quickly and effectively stop lawn-destroying mole crickets so you don't have to make costly repairs. Look us up on Facebook at Turf Pro PC or call Turf Pro at 850-890-5820. 850-890-5820. Call the blue and yellow trucks. We'll make your lawn green.
It's been an up-and-down start for the 2025 Atlanta Braves, which means every win counts more than ever.
Michael swings and hits one way up in the air, streaking out of the ballpark as the kid strikes again.
Tonight, the Braves close out their quick trip to Philly as Atlanta looks for another big NL East win against the Phillies at Citizens Bank Park.
Final game of the series. First pitch, 5:45. Your home for the Braves on the Gulf Coast, ESPN Northwest Florida.
You found us inside the CBC Construction Studios. Hot takes, the latest trades, in-depth interviews.
That is my reaction.
We break it down for you right here.
Very big springboard for the rest of my career.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
That's the problem right there.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
We are back, and we're in the doghouse. I'm David Hayes, along with James Fife. We're the Afternoon Underdogs, and this is 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, live and local from Panama City Beach in the CBC Construction Studios. You can call them at 850-747-3815 or visit their website at cbcconstruction.com. Our call-in question of the day, if you could go back to one sports moment to relive live from the stands, what would it be? Give us a call on the Red 7Ts phone line. They are the brand that brands you. That number is 850-215-6290. You can also, that is our phone number, Red 7Ts. Just go to red7ts.com and buy from them because they are the brand that brands you. A couple of headlines last night. The Thunder, we haven't even talked any NBA up to this point. The Thunder moving on to their first final since, 2012 or so. They had a big win last night. Pretty much you could turn that game off last night. Before halftime? I feel like
turned that game off in the first 7 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, it was done like after tip. I mean, it was literally done after tip-off.
Well,
I was halfway watching it because I was watching the NHL game,
right.
You know, and I looked over at one point, and it was like 50-3, and I'm like, okay, that's done.
Yeah, the NHL game was which is not necessarily out of the ordinary, but the NHL game was much more compelling, especially when you switch over and you see Hurricanes up on the Panthers 1-0. But the Panthers were able to bounce back and get a 5-3 win last night. They are headed back to the Cup Finals for their third year in a row. The Tampa Bay Lightning did this right before the Florida Panthers started getting on their run, appearing in 3 straight Stanley Cup Finals, winning 2 of those. The state of Florida, we even heard it from the guy who does the ice, Al Carl, for the Washington Capitals. He's the ice guy over there for him, and he even said that the state of Florida is Hockey Town, USA right now.
We making it, man. We making it.
How do you feel about that as you've been in Florida for a while, so to some extent you're a Floridian.
As a non-traditional hockey fan growing up in the South my whole life, when I was a kid, there wasn't a whole lot of hockey everywhere. I got into it because my godparents were from Toronto directly, and they gave me my first hockey stick and a puck when I was 6, years old, something like that. Had no idea what they were because, I was living in Tennessee at the time. You think I knew what hockey was? No, not at all. So glad that they turned me onto it. Absolutely happy.
Yeah, it's a great sport. Same way for me, essentially. Not my grandparents living in Canada or anything, but did not have any. I don't even think I played NHL video games because I was totally ignorant to the sport. And then we went to a Lightning versus Maple Leafs hockey game, and that instant, man, like from the puck drop, from walking into the stadium, it was life-changing, and from there became one of my favorite sports, especially when you get to this time of the year. Like, I don't care that the Tampa Bay Lightning haven't been involved in the NBA since the first round, right? Like, these are great playoffs year in and year out.
Oh, no, it's been great. And, I mean, let's look at hockey over the last 20 years in the South. I mean, it's been well. Dallas has won. Dallas has been to the finals a couple times. Florida has won. Let's see, Tampa has won.
Yep.
The Carolina Hurricanes have won. Now, the Hurricanes haven't been all that great lately, but they've had some really great pushes into the Eastern Conference Finals. You just got to learn how to, win a couple of those Eastern Conference Finals games, because when you lose, what are they now, like 1-16?
Yeah, because I think they were 0-14 before 0-14 or 0-15 before their first win.
Yeah, and that was Brendan Moore's first win in an Eastern Conference Final game.
Wow.
And he's been there 3 times. He's been there 3 times now, 1 win out of it. So there's eventually going to have to be a conversation about that, I would think, if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, because you're putting teams together that are good. It's proof. You're there.
Yeah.
Now, what is keeping you from getting over that?
Exactly. How do you push yourself off the edge, proverbially, in the right way, though? They're on PTI right now, pardon the interruption. They're talking about, or they're asking the question, are the Panthers better this year than what they were last year? What are your thoughts on that, James?
I think they're a lot, pretty much the same team from last year to this year, other than the really big name you're adding is Marchand, which is a great add to have this time of year because he's just that little scrappy guy. He's not afraid of anything. He's fine with stirring the pot. He is exactly what you want in an NHL playoff situation because he is fine with, you always hear play to the whistle, but you know what you do in hockey? You play after the whistle.
Yeah.
And he is excellent at that after the whistle antics. So, yeah, it probably is a better team because of that singular ad that didn't really cost him anything to get him out of Boston.
I know. I was so surprised that Boston let Marchand go. All right,
I was shocked by that. I thought he was going to stay. I thought he was going to retire a Bruin. Seriously.
Absolutely. Not only how much he's, done for Boston, but when a guy does something like that, it's like, all right, ride it out with us, especially if he wasn't making a big fuss about the fact that the Boston Bruins, last year, they were obviously competitive, right? They got to the second round, and they lost to the Florida Panthers. But yeah, and then that series was so wild. Like when Marchand got traded to the Panthers, it's like, is he even going to fit in with those guys? Or are they going to have some animosity? Obviously, they're professionals. They got to get over anything that they might have had on their chest, whatnot. But I hated that because I felt like it was going to be a big deal in the playoffs. Who were we going to see in the playoffs at least at some point or at one point or another? The Florida Panthers. And yes, Brad Marchand has made the Florida Panthers even better if that's possible. And then Bobrovsky, I mean, questionable at times, but those times have gotten fewer and fewer over this 3-year Stanley Cup final run.
I think he's finding a comfort level in Florida that he didn't have in Columbus because, let's face it, Columbus doesn't have a comfort level with anything because Columbus just plays too desperate always. So I can see that being an uncomfortable situation. And now that Bob has gotten to Florida and they gave him the bag and said, just relax, bro, you're here. I think some point last season is when it really kicked in, and it's not a physical thing, it's a mental thing that this is my spot, I'm going to be here, I can make some mistakes, they're not going to, go let me hang out and twist in the wind, they're going to take care of me.
Right State Chris says you play through the echo of the whistle. We've got the Oilers and the Stars tonight. Oilers are a plus 115 dog, and the Dallas Stars tonight minus 135. You also have the Pacers and the Knicks. Pacers are a 4.5-point dog, and the total is set at 223.5. My question, James, do the Knicks or the Stars have the better chance to extend their series, both teams down 3-1?
I think it's the Stars because of depth. I think the Knicks are running out of gas. If you look at what the Knicks are doing in this playoff, 85% of the time the guys are on the court, it's one of their top 5 guys.
Yeah.
And I just think those guys are running out of gas. You've got to have some depth in basketball. You don't got to have a lot of depth in basketball. You only need maybe 1-2 guys that can come off the bench and give you some production. But the Knicks don't even have, I don't even think, a minute amount of production coming off the bench. And I think that's going to be their big downfall is they got names. And they got good names out there. Brunson's great. They just don't have any of those ancillary characters that you've got to have to win a championship in any sport.
Yeah, and that's where the Pacers are deep, is because when their next 5 comes in, if they want to do it like that, Team 1 and Team B, or Team 1A, Team 1B, they're still, they remain lethal. Whereas the Knicks, you're absolutely right. At some point in time, you've got to take some minutes off, but you've got to have the people that can step up in big positions. Jalen Brunson has played his tail off for the Knicks, and the series, if the Pacers do end up closing it out, the NBA Finals could be very compelling between the Pacers and the Thunder. Both teams can play with as much tempo as you want to play with, but also they're teams that can play. What kind of game do you want to play? I feel like that's the Pacers each and every game, at least from what I've seen of them in this playoffs, is they don't necessarily set the tone. They kind of feel it out. Now, they'll get off to quick starts, but then they'll match, all right, what kind of game do you want to play? And then they make it a track meet by the third quarter when you're gasping for air, and they're the best, the team that's in the most shape, that's in the best shape.
I think the Pacers had the best bench. I think they can go the deepest, and that is making a huge difference when you keep playing more and more games.
So do you have the Stars winning tonight, or just they have the better chance to extend the series?
I got $1 on the Hard Rock.
Oh, there we go. $2 bets, but he just did $1 tonight. I think that the Knicks win tonight, and then the Pacers close it out in Game 6. I would love to be wrong about that. And I'm going to say the Oilers go ahead and get the W tonight, and then your Stanley Cup final will be set, and it will be the same as what we saw last year in 2024. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Coming up next, we're talking softball with Sydney Fields.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
Tonight, the Atlanta Braves take on the hated Philadelphia Phillies.
Fly ball deep right field, hanging high. Look out! It's a 3-run home run.
Live play-by-play coming up at 5:45 from Citizens Bank Park. Listen to Braves Country in ultra-high fidelity right here on the Gulf Coast home for the Atlanta Braves.
ESPN Northwest Florida. This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Thursday's weather. The rest of the day, there will be a moderate breeze out of the southwest, very light showers and definite thunderstorms, and 83. Very light rain and a likelihood of thunderstorms tonight, about the same at 77. Tomorrow, likely thunderstorms and moderate rain and a high of 84. About the same at 83 Saturday, and we'll have possible thunderstorms. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Wahoo's Express Car Wash is now open and proud to be your local go-to car wash, offering top quality service with a personal touch. Their monthly membership plans make it easy and affordable to keep your car looking its best all year round. Wahoo's Express Car Wash has advanced equipment and an experienced team to ensure every vehicle leaves sparkling clean. Committed to fast, friendly service and spotless results every time. Come see the difference at Wahoo's Express Car Wash, intersection of Michigan Avenue and 23rd Street.
Hi folks, it's Tracy from Tracy's Fine Jewelry. Did you know that we have a master jeweler right here in the store? That's right, she has over 20 years experience in the art of repairing jewelry. Most repairs are done within a week, so don't send your jewelry off for 6 weeks. Bring it to us at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. We size rings and solder chains. We can reset your diamond into a new setting and even custom design. You'll get your jewelry back quickly and looking as good as new. Tracy's Fine Jewelry, Bay County's trusted jeweler for over 50 years.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
And that's out of the ballpark.
ESPN, Northwest Florida.
Now, we're live and local inside the CBC Construction Studios. The next evolution in sports talk radio. It's the Afternoon Underdogs.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Make it so. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
It is hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes along with James Fife. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're live and local from the CBC Construction Studios. Give them a call at 850-747-3815 or visit their website at cbcconstruction.com. Our call-in, text-in question of the day: if you could lock in one sports moment to relive live from the stands, what would it be? Text that answer into us at 850-215-6290. Now we are going to go over to the Red 7T's phone line, the brand that brands you, and we'll be on the line with Sydney Fields. Sydney covers the Arkansas Razorbacks for Sport and Story, where she's a writer over there, and she loves her Arkansas Razorbacks. Sydney, how are you doing today on this beautiful day to play some softball?
I'm doing great. We've already had a really fun day of Women's College World Series action today.
Yeah, we got the top side of the bracket, or the left side of the bracket. I guess depends on what site you're looking at. But all the top dogs from the SEC all bunched up into one. Oklahoma with a 3-0 win earlier over Florida. I believe that's what it ended up, 3-0. And then, oh yeah, that's right. And then we just got done watching. I was in the middle of an interview with Alan Watson. He's the owner of Golf Plus. I asked him a question, and as soon as I looked up, the walk-off homer was happening, and I did not hear the rest of his answer. I was just in disbelief there, but also at the same time believed it very much so, as Oklahoma looking for their 5th softball championship in a row. So, Sydney, what stood out to you from those 2 games?
Really, I was really impressed by Texas hitting against Florida. Rothrock didn't have the best day, and she's really going to have to step up in order for them to keep alive in this bracket. But I was impressed with their pitcher, Tegan Cavan. She's incredible for Texas. But I was really impressed by their whole team play.
And then what about in that Oklahoma-Tennessee game, or Oklahoma-Texas game? Too much orange for me. Too much orange, Sydney.
Oklahoma-Tennessee. That was crazy. Sam Landry didn't have her stuff early for Oklahoma, and Tennessee took advantage of it. And you look at a score, or you're watching one of these Oklahoma games, and you're just like, oh, they didn't have it today. And then the 7th inning rolls around, and it's a whole different ballgame for them. Ella Parker hit 2 home runs today for them, and including the game-winning walk-off. And you just can never count them out, and that's what's going to keep them alive.
Oh, my goodness. I was hoping that I was going to be able to. I think I said it might be the reason why Oklahoma was able to win it, because I said earlier in the show that maybe we'll see Oklahoma leave the tournament sooner than later. And then not too much later down the road, Oklahoma with that walk-off home run. We were talking about this a little bit on the Inside Drive this afternoon, which you can listen to that show hosted by Ryan Mulvey from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. right here on ESPN Northwest Florida, Monday through Friday. And one of our co-hosts, Coach Brian Haddad, said that he's curious as to why they don't reseed the Women's College World Series when they get to this part of the bracket, this portion of the tournament. Do you think that they should reseed these teams when they get to the World Series?
Yeah, I do think they should. It's really interesting, watching, and there's an unranked and quote-unquote Ole Miss sitting there, and number 16, Oregon. I think they should completely renumber the top 8 that are there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd still have Oklahoma on top, Oklahoma and Texas as being kind of your top 2 seeds, and then, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much it would change. Like, What team would you take from how would you split it up in those brackets? Would you go 1 versus 8? So have the top, you'd have the 1 seed on one side of the bracket and then the 2 seed on the other side of the bracket?
Right. Maybe like Oklahoma against Ole Miss in this opening round. And then maybe like a Texas or Tennessee against Oregon or UCLA or Texas Tech, something like that.
Yeah, almost like.
But really, I'm not sure if it matters a whole lot. But it is really insane to look at this bracket. And on one side, it is all SEC, just like you're back at the SEC tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think 2, 6, and 7, or anyways, it's all top 10 seeds on the first side of the bracket, and then over on the other side, you've got the unranked team in Ole Miss, who might be the hottest team in the tournament. You can make the argument at least, and then 12 seed Texas Tech, 16 Oregon, and then 9 for UCLA. But again, all of these teams to get to this point have to be incredibly hot. Which team has the best shot at knocking off Oklahoma, if there is any?
Well, I was going to say Tennessee today. I would say Tennessee or Texas probably. Now Texas has that better shot at getting them out Saturday, but not getting them out, but giving them their first loss. Yeah. But those would be my 2 to pick, and then just to get out of that bracket. But if Oklahoma made it to the championship, I would say UCLA.
What's been the biggest surprise of the tournament overall to you to this point?
The biggest surprise, you mean in Oklahoma City or just overall?
Overall in the tournament.
Well, I would say the biggest surprise would be Ole Miss sitting there instead of Arkansas.
Yeah.
Just a terrible turn of events for the Razorbacks. They wake up on Friday and their 2 aces have food poisoning. So they just things didn't go their way, and Ole Miss turned it on and took advantage of it. And like I said, going into the week, they are a hot team. They went into Arizona and took over their house. They came into Arkansas and took over their house. They had a good win in the SEC tournament, and their bats are really hot right now. They're probably the hottest they've been all year, and that's what's been carrying them through, and I think that will continue.
Which team is hotter, or which team do you think would advance further or will advance further? Is it Ole Miss, or is it the Red Raiders of Texas Tech?
That's a really hard one because, I just went over what Ole Miss has done, but Texas Tech went into Florida State and took 2 of 3 of it, or took both games, swept them at their house there in Tallahassee, and that was really shocking to me. I didn't think they could do that, but I think that's proving they're going to ride Nigel Kennedy, and it's working, and I think it's going to continue working. So just from what they've done over the last 2 weeks, I would say Texas Tech is hotter.
What is an underrated storyline that fans should be talking about?
Well, there's not really anything like player-wise, I don't think, but I do think it's really crazy and a very interesting storyline that 5 of these 8 schools are from the SEC, and 5 of these 8 schools have been battling each other all year. And, you get to the tournament and you're like, ooh, we finally get to see some other teams, some new competition, some other teams that have been doing great across the country, and you get there and it's the same guys who've been playing this whole time. So I think that's interesting, and I think because of that, there is a chance that someone other than SEC could be named. Somebody other than Oklahoma could be named the national champion, because these teams have seen Oklahoma over and over and over and over again throughout the season. And the more you play a team, the harder it is to keep losing to them and to keep beating them. So I think this is probably one of the best chances that Oklahoma will not win the national championship.
Looking for 5 in a row. What has been the key for Patty Gasso and the Sooners when you've taken every recruiting class from the last 4 years, essentially? You went through a whole recruiting class and got each one of them a championship.
Yeah, the seniors last year, they left with 4 rings. Mm-hmm. That's just insane. And, a lot of people were crediting those teams, and of course they deserve it. But you really have to look at what the coaching staff is doing, Patty Gasso and her son JT and everybody else on the staff. I think it really shows the kind of coaches they are. And, you know, you don't go to Oklahoma to continue playing college softball. You go to Oklahoma to win national championships. And it really is amazing that they've continued to stay on the high horse that they're on. And, you know, you bring in all these new players that they have this year. They have a really young team. And then their ace is a transfer from Louisiana. So I think it's all just a testament to the coaching staff.
Yeah, and then also finding the talent that wants to leave their where they're at right now and transfer over. I mean, one of the biggest transfers, or one of the biggest softball players in the Women's College World Series right now, Nigeri Kennedy, and where she was at Stanford prior to Texas Tech, and then she's, you know, went on a run with the Red Raiders.
Absolutely insane. And that shows that when you invest in women's sports, I mean, look at the return Oklahoma's gotten. And then in the stage of NIL where we are right now, Nigeri Kennedy got paid over $1 million to go to Texas Tech. And that's openly talked about. She talked about it last week. And I think that just shows if someone like Texas Tech is willing to spend that much money on a softball player, you know, that should wake up other schools around the country. And, you know, their coaching staff they don't dictate that, but schools, their athletic departments should open up their eyes and realize, you know, this is one of the most growing sports in the country, and it needs to be invested in.
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested. I should go back and look at what the numbers of viewership were compared to the College Baseball World Series and the Women's College World Series of last year, because in my opinion, over the last 5 years, and maybe my opinion is purely just my perspective on this, but I'm starting to like, and have been for a number of years now, starting to be more intrigued by college softball, even more so than college baseball. I mean, both of them still get the ping of the aluminum. Love that. I don't know what product, what metal, or whatever they're using these days, but with college softball, you know, all the passion from both sides, doesn't really even matter what the score is. And then also it's a little bit quicker pace, which, you know, it helps you with that need for instant gratification these days.
Right, and you look at the SEC network, what's on during this time is college softball.
Yeah.
More so than baseball. And, I mean, obviously you can get in 2 college softball games in the time that you can get in 1 college baseball game. A lot of the time. And so that takes a huge part in it. But the viewership is really incredible, and it just grows every single year.
Yeah, absolutely. So, congratulations on Texas Tech. I was also, to Texas Tech, I was reading an article somewhere. They were talking about importance of, they were talking about Nigeri Kennedy, and they were saying that in all of sports, we all kind of, the common consensus is that the quarterback for an NFL team is going to be the most important position. And then they had at number 2 starting pitcher for softball. How important is that for these programs to, hey, we need to put some money, we need to get in a great NIL deal for our starting pitchers moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, pitching, we're in such a world right now where hitters are, I mean, the offense in college softball is incredible right now. And just from my perspective as, you know, coaching young kids here in Arkansas, there's not a lot of pitchers coming up. So whenever you find a really good pitcher, you should really go after and do everything you can to secure that spot. But, I mean, look at Carlin Pickens. She threw a 79-mile-an-hour pitch recently. I mean, the game is growing for pitchers, and it is really important to have not just one ace, but a couple of really good ones so that, you know, you can make a deep run like this at this time of year.
Who would you say has the best starting rotation or starting staff in the Women's College World Series remaining?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Isn't UCLA like 3 deep?
I think they are, yeah. It's been hard for me to pay a whole lot of attention to UCLA this year because I've been all over the place. Mm-hmm. But I did watch last weekend some of their games, and yeah, they have a really good complete staff. Tennessee also has a good staff. They rely on Carlin Pickens, but they do have a good staff. And then Texas, I was really impressed watching them last weekend when they had a pitcher. I think her name was Megan or Morgan, but she was pitching, and it was a close game, and they had put their ace in the pen, but she really stepped up and got out of that situation. So really, those three are good. Oklahoma's kind of struggling with their rotation. They had some injuries throughout the season, but they have Sam Landry, who's just incredible, and we'll see if she can keep it going.
All right, well, let's talk about some electric players on the offensive side here, and let's go through each team. I'll rattle them off, and you tell us who the most exciting electric player for each team offensively is, and we'll start off with Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, I'll say Lexi Brady. She's their catcher. She's a really, really good catcher, first of all, but her offense has just stepped up to a whole new level here in this postseason. She hit a home run, I know one, I think two last weekend at Arkansas, but she has had some really big hits. She's been really big on the base paths too, so she's definitely their most electric offensive player right now.
All right, we'll go to Florida next.
Florida, I'd say Taylor Shoemaker. She is the National Freshman of the Year. She just won this week. I think she has 22 home runs, and she is just a beast, and it's her first year, and I'm excited to see what else she can do.
How about UCLA?
UCLA, I'll go Jordan Woolery. She had a huge walk-off last weekend. Her bat has been really incredible all season, but really here in this postseason.
Which is when it counts the most.
That's
the
right.
Oregon Ducks. Who leads the quack attack over there?
Riley McCoy leads the quack attack. She's hit 19 home runs for them, and she's been pretty elite.
All right. Texas and the Longhorns, who were able to push past the Florida Gators today.
Right now, I'll say they have a really good lineup, but right now I'll say Jolie Mitchell. She hit 2 home runs against Florida today, and that's just insane. 2 of their 3, so I'm going with her.
The Oklahoma Sooners, who will help them on the offensive side of the ball possibly get to 5 chips in a row.
I think Ella Parker said that would be me today. She hit 2 home runs, and including the walk-off. She is a home run hitter, and she is just great.
So she was responsible then for 100% of the runs, because that was a 3-run shot and then the home run there. So
yes.
Heck of a day for her.
She was responsible for 100% of the runs.
My goodness gracious, what a day for Ella Parker and the Oklahoma Sooners. All right, Texas Tech and the Red Raiders.
Texas Tech, I'll say Maya Davis. She knows how to get on base for them. She doesn't have the huge home run numbers, but she's a great hitter.
All right, and then last but not least, Tennessee.
Tennessee, I'll say Taylor Pennell. She has really been a rock for them, and she got on base a couple times today, scored. So I'm going with her.
All right, I'm going to ask you next who are going to be the final 2 teams standing, who dukes it out for the Women's College World Series to play a best-of-3 series, but who's a dark horse? My answer to that is going to be UCLA because of the deep pitching staff, and they've got a lot of power as well. So that's going to be my dark horse, which I was really struggling between Texas Tech and Ole Miss, but I'm going to go with UCLA.
UCLA is also my dark horse. I think they make it to that championship game. They've proven that they know how to win in the postseason in years past, but also this season, which I've talked about the last 2 weeks. They know how to win. They've done it over and over and over. They're kind of like in Oklahoma. They were kind of the OGs there. So they know how to do it. I think they'll get there.
There you go. And then who's going to be those final 2 teams standing just about a week from today?
Oklahoma and UCLA.
Oh, goodness gracious. Who wins it all?
It hurts coming out, but I think Oklahoma wins it all.
I guess if there's one thing Keeping it in the SEC finally, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, my goodness.
I'd really like to see Tennessee, or I wouldn't love to see Texas get there, but I think that they could. But, yeah, I just think Oklahoma proved it today. They proved it in the SEC tournament. They prove it, every time they're in that moment where they just might lose, and then Ella Parker comes up and hits a 3-run home run to win the game.
Oh, my goodness. Ole Miss, Texas Tech, both those teams making their first appearance in the Women's College World Series. Does the lack of experience there, do you think that will play a role for the Rebs or for the Red Raiders?
I really don't think so. We can say they've never been there, but Nyjah Kennedy has been there when she was playing with Stanford. And I think riding her is what's going to get them out of this. A pitcher can only do so much. She can't pitch every single game. So I think that'll hurt them. But also, the Rebs, their pitching is not amazing, but their bats have just been taking care of business, and they've been battling through great pitching staffs. So the Rebs are hot, and I think they stay hot. I don't think the inexperience is really going to hurt either team.
Is there somewhere deep down within you that you're rooting for the Rebels since they put out the Arkansas Razorbacks, and so it kind of would make y'all look a little bit better? Not that y'all needed that, especially with Brie Ellis.
Yeah, absolutely not.
There you go. You do not play around with the semantics. Sydney, thank you so much for your time this afternoon, getting us all caught up on what's going on in the Women's College World Series, and I'm sure we'll talk to you next week ahead of the final.
Absolutely. Looking forward to a fun week.
And there we go. Sydney Fields, ladies and gentlemen. She writes for Sport and Story, and she covers the Hogs for them as well. And if you are a fan of Brie Ellis, they did a story on Brie Ellis, and Sydney has posted that on her Twitter. Go check it out. I just watched the snippet of it. It's about 2.5 minutes long or so, but it makes me want to go watch the whole entire episode of that podcast. Brie Ellis is a beast. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We're only going until 5:43 this afternoon, so you better get your calls in now. The 850-215-6290.
Come on vacation.
Summer vacation. Hey, how's your vacation going?
Leave on probation.
Sheriff's deputies in Panama City Beach arresting 161 people during an out-of-control spring break weekend.
Welcome to the Emerald Coast. Have a great time at the beautiful beaches, but not like end up in the back of a police cruiser great. A friendly reminder from 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with Thursday's weather forecast. Partly cloudy tonight with a low near 76 and a wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mostly sunshine tomorrow morning, a gentle breeze and a temperature of 84. About the same in the afternoon and evening, around 85 with possible thunderstorms and some sun. A likelihood of thunderstorms in the early morning, but otherwise mostly sunshine Saturday and quite warm around 84. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Wahoo's Express Car Wash is now open and proud to be your local go-to car wash, offering top quality service with a personal touch. Their monthly membership plans make it easy and affordable to keep your car looking its best all year round. Wahoo's Express Car Wash has advanced equipment and an experienced team to ensure every vehicle leaves sparkling clean. Committed to fast, friendly service and spotless results every time. Come see the difference at Wahoo's Express Car Wash, intersection of Michigan Avenue and 23rd Street.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No, no one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now to learn more.
800-605-4650. 800-605-4650. 800-605-4650. That's 800-605-4650.
It's been an up and down start for the 2025 Atlanta Braves, which means every win counts more than ever.
Michael swings and hits one way up in the air, streaking out of the ballpark as the kid strikes again.
Tonight, the Braves close out their quick trip to Philly as Atlanta looks for another big NL East win against the Phillies at Citizens Bank Park.
Final game of the series. First pitch, 5:45. Your home for the Braves on the Gulf Coast. ESPN Northwest Florida.
You found us inside the CBC Construction Studios. ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Call in with your questions, hot takes, and rants at 850-215-6290.
I'm sure that most of you have used a dial telephone before.
The Sports Talk Monster.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Dance, do your dance. I don't know what game. This reminds me of a video game for some reason, like maybe Forza or maybe, you know what? It almost sounds like, so if you ever go to Lighthouse Church, which is over there off of 23rd Street, it almost sounds like they play like a beat when there's 5 minutes up until the actual service starts. And it almost reminds me of that. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been over there on a Monday night, so maybe I'm, imagining things. I don't know why I'm going on so long about this little bumper music that we got here, but now James has got the what's it, Night at Roxbury or whatever with Will Ferrell.
For me, it's like that early 2000s, mid 2000s, like Tony Hawk Skate or SSX Tricky or something like that, where you're like going on the skateboards and the snowboards and all that kind of stuff.
Ah, the times. And I think they've already re-released Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4. I bought the revamped version of Tony Hawk.
The re-release?
Yeah, essentially. But for the new system, they got it done just a little bit quicker than what Rockstar has done with Grand Theft Auto 6. But our call-in question of the day today, if you could lock in one sport moment to relive live from the stands, what would it be? So we'll take this time to go over y'all's responses. Go ahead.
I got another one, though, for that I think would be really, really great. Depending on the kind of person you are, the Malice at the Palace. Could you imagine being like in the fourth row of that?
No, I could not, because yes, I can't imagine it. Would I put myself in that situation? No, because when that was happening, what year was that?
Oh, that was 2005, 6, somewhere back then.
So I'm, not fully 18 years old. No, I'm in the prime time of fighting, all right, is what I'm trying to get at. And it's my team. I got my players climbing up into the stands. I don't know if I would be able to, I wasn't too much of an idiot in public events. You know what I mean? Like, my parents taught me, they raised me right enough to at least act right in front of other people and be an idiot in private or whatever, which I performed that pretty well. I would not like to think about being in the seats and then seeing Ron Artest climb up into the stands. Then I'm going to get beat up by a whole bunch of Detroit Pistons fans because I'm coming to the aid of a guy who's twice the size of me height-wise and probably 3 times the size of me weight-wise.
Meta world peace.
Oh, my goodness, dude. That great documentary about that, by the way. And I love, some of the guys from that team. Dude, was Ron Artest in the wrong meta world peace? Yes. All right. But first and foremost, what occupation do you work at where someone can throw a soda on you? Like, and if your mind's not in the right state, and I'm not saying like his mental health was on what. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he could have been ticked off at something. He could have already been dealing something off the court in his life that he was already kind of frustrated with. And then all of a sudden this, and I don't mean this, we're all the same. We all put our pants on the same, brush our teeth the same, all that good stuff if you brush your teeth. He's a nobody, the guy in the stands, right? Like, yes, we are all equal, but who is that guy? And so then he's going to throw a soda on me? Heck no, son, I'm going up in the stands and putting a whooping on him. And the rest of the guys, the rest of the Pacers, how do they react to that situation other than if a team is a good team, that situation is going to happen 9 times out of 10 with every team, right? Yes, you're going to have the emotional leader who should come out there and, hey, guys, we don't need to be doing this. But once your guy's in the stands, at that point, all bets are off. You already know, like, what was it that Ron Artest said when they got back into the locker room? Do you think we're going to get suspended for this? Reggie's just like, dude, are you kidding me? But the guys hated it. They hated it for Reggie's career because that was the team that could have won an NBA championship for Reggie Miller. But now Reggie can live vicariously through Tyrese Halliburton and the Indiana Pacers.
Have you ever watched the Bruins-Rangers fight that split up into the crowd from, like, I want to say,
how did that happen?
1979, 1980, somewhere in there?
See, there's one thing in hockey that's not in basketball, and those are the plexiglass partitions.
My friend, they weren't always there.
Is that why they were put up?
It's one of the reasons. So back then, the plexiglass was only behind the bench. There was the bench, and then it was probably only like a foot tall.
Yeah.
So you could, if you were a player and you really wanted over it, it's just like hopping the boards, and you can get back in there.
What year did you say this was?
This was like 79, 80, somewhere in there. It was the Bruins and the Rangers. And, I mean, it was like the Bruins are just like skates and all walking up into the stands and just starting wailing on people. The Rangers are standing on the ice going, you want in on this? No, I'm leaving this alone.
See, and then once I probably got to about, I don't know, maybe 25, 24 around there, I didn't care about, fighting or anything like that any longer. So if I was older, at that game, ain't no way. I'm not dumb enough. And the only reason I would think about doing anything anyways is because I was on the side of the NBA players, being a Pacers fan, right? That would be the only reason that I would decide to help them out. But let's get through some of these call-in, text-in questions of the day, take a break, get back to do some more of them, finish them off, and then we'll finish the show off as well. Right State Chris has got Mario Götze's goal against Argentina in the 2014 World Cup final to give Germany their 4th World Cup title. He would have loved to see that live. Jack Patterson says the FSU punt Ruski wished he was there live but was not. Dominique Batiste, he says, mine is when LSU beat Alabama in overtime. That game was crazy. So he's talking about, he's got to be talking about, what was that, 2000 and maybe 22? 2022, I believe. Brian Kelly's first year over there with the LSU Tigers. So that is a good one right there, Dominique. And I think that's all we have there on Facebook. On the text line, we've got Santonio Holmes catch in the Super Bowl to beat the Cardinals. That was a heck of a sports moment. No doubt about that. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Final segment of the afternoon is coming up swiftly. And if you have something to text in that you would like to relive in a sports moment, text that into us, 850-215-6290.
Your attention, please. ESPN Northwest Florida reminds you it's the law. It's the law. When there's a double red flag, stay out of the water, stick your toes in the sand, grab a cold drink, and listen to live sports.
Swung on, miss, strike 3.
On 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Double play!
CBC
CBC Construction is looking for a few good men. At CBC Construction, our greatest strength lies within our talented team. Join us and be a part of a dynamic company that values its people. We offer a tremendous opportunity to create a future for your family and the Florida Panhandle. CBC Construction is now hiring. Call us at 850-740-3815 or visit cbcconstruction.com to learn more. CBC Construction. Be part of a winning team.
Reliable Copy Products is proud to be the exclusive dealer in Northwest Florida for Kyocera office equipment. Reliable Copy Products has been committed to providing professional, personalized service for the last 35 years. They understand that the right equipment does not always fall within today's budget requirements, so they offer several options for the equipment you need today for the growth you expect tomorrow. Call James Smothers at 784-6601. 784-6601. Reliable Copy Products on Harrison Avenue, just north of Bay High School.
MLB is incoming, and you won't miss a game. Introducing Scorpion TV. Over 5,000 live streaming channels. Catch every game of the season with over 100 sports networks, including ESPN, ESPN Plus, the NFL Network, and Red Zone. Even pay-per-view events. Watch 400 local network channels from Panama City and most major markets. Fox, ABC, CBS, and NBC. Just $45 a month with our promo code ESPNNW. Go to ESPNPC.com and click the Scorpion TV logo.
Now, we're live and local inside the CBC Construction Studios. Now back to the most dangerous afternoon show on terrestrial radio.
It's dangerous.
It's illegal in 5 states. The Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
It is the Afternoon Underdogs here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm David Hayes along with James Fife. Atlanta Braves coming up in about 7 minutes right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. First pitch at 5:45. Chris Sale, I believe, going for the Braves up against Zach Wheeler for the Phillies. Braves baseball on ESPN Northwest Florida is sponsored locally by Best Way Portable Buildings, Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, Mid-South Lumber, and Brock Pest Control. Pacers, Knicks tonight, and the Stars and the Oilers. Lots of playoff action, and of course the Women's College World Series and your Atlanta Braves to keep you entertained this evening. Right after this show, I'm headed to the hospital to go meet my new niece, Baby Ruth. What a fitting name, as the Gulf Coast State College softball coach commented on the status that I posted today. What a fitting name for a future sports radio host. Not saying that she will or will not be. I'm just excited to meet the youngin'. So that'll be what I'm doing, and I'll see if I even end up watching the game tonight. I'm really excited. That's my first niece, man. I am over the moon about this. But we have our call-in question, text-in question of the day. If you could lock in one sports moment to relive live from the stands, what would it be? We still have a few more to finish off here. We've got David Kelly saying, I'd love to be on the 18th green at the 2019 Masters on Sunday, which is the one that Tiger Woods won. That would be, man, incredible, because if you weren't a avid golf fan and were in the realm of casual or less than that, Tiger Woods, I mean, even if you were an avid golf fan, you could not deny the fact that Tiger Woods was the GOAT. But I feel like all of us who were casual or below rooted for Tiger time and time again. Well, when he went, when he went through the troubles and the valleys and all of that stuff, we all rooted for him to come back and to come back and win a tournament. And so for him to do that at the 2019 Masters was, man, I remember watching that, and just me and my brother were talking like, dude, can you believe there's a chance going into Sunday? And then the actuality of that happening, a very special moment across the board in sports. LSU Jeff, he says, usually this is a once-in-a-lifetime, like Saints winning the Super Bowl. The insurmountable feeling of years of despair diminishes because of that one moment. That makes it extra special. So 2009, Saints interception of Peyton Manning in the fourth quarter to seal the win. That's a pretty big deal right there. And to be at a Super Bowl that your team is playing in, I mean, the odds are against you in the first place unless you got the bag. Chef Chris, he's got a long one. I've been wanting to read this the whole entire time. November 26, 1994, my first Florida State versus Florida game. I was 8 years old. I could have been the Webster definition of wide-eyed that day. In Doak, the pageantry is still not comparable. Packed in with 80,000 fans watching number 4 Florida roll into town to face number 6 FSU. For the first 45 minutes, it was brutal. My team was getting dismantled, embarrassed. Bowden looked lost. Dunn was bottled up. Kennel looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. Werfel was lighting the nose up, and Spurrier had that smug smirk like he had already had it in the bag. Chef Chris says he was basically crying. I bet a McDonald's cheeseburger on that game with my uncle, and I didn't have a job as an 8-year-old. By the way, Chef Chris makes better burgers by far than McDonald's does, and I'm sure he did at 8 years old as well. The visor of Steve's came off later in the best way possible because then came the fourth quarter. That quarter was the most electric, emotional, unforgettable stretch of football I've ever seen. We came alive. We fought back. The crowd turned from stunned to absolute, the most feral collective of human beings I've still ever witnessed. Werfel choked. Spurrier still never won in Doak. That game ended in a tie, the choke at Doak. Bowden's best quarter of football ever. And that tie, well, FSU broke it with a big silver chalice full of sugar a month later. I've been to a few Florida State, Florida games since, but that one, that was the one. It'll always be the one, even though FSU didn't technically win. My buddy Barlow, he says either the Ray Allen shot Game 6 against the Spurs or the 2013 National Championship game final drive. That was an incredible drive. Incredible game. So I don't remember watching. I was 3 years old when the choke at Doak happened. That story was so great. I'd love to spend a little bit more time on it, Chef Chris, but we are getting close to the end of the show. I've got a few more to ring off here. Jamal, he's going with Auburn and Georgia. That was the most highly attended game ever. Reggie Brown got hit so hard that the stadium was completely quiet. He still got the ticket, which is why we should bring back physical tickets rather than just the apps and whatnot. It says it's the craziest atmosphere he's ever been in, and he thinks Auburn was undefeated too. Kenny Irons and David Irons, Ronnie Brown, Will Herring, safety was the team was like that. And then Jacob Baxter going with fourth and Ringo, which probably got that nickname from beating Alabama in the 2021 National Championship when he returned the pick six and pretty much sealed the deal for the Georgia Bulldogs. All right, well, James, we've got, here? About 20 seconds?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. All right. Well, y'all enjoy the evening tonight. Be safe out there. If you are attending Gulf Coast Jam, do not drink and drive. Enjoy the time with your friends and your family and the herd, as they're calling them. Hope y'all enjoy it. Just remember, Jesus loves you. So do I. For James Fife, I'm David Hayes. We're the Afternoon Underdogs, and we will see you tomorrow.
Keep the game going with ESPN Northwest Florida. Just because you get out of the car doesn't mean the sports talk and live play-by-play have to end.